Welcome back to our rural marketing class. In the last class, we have discussed about various topics about rural marketing research, like what is the meaning of rural marketing research, what are the objectives of marketing research, what are the limitations, and what are the various data collection methods are there in rural marketing research. We have discussed in the last class, and today we are going to discuss about some other topics in the same rural marketing research. Let us start with the approaches of marketing research. The ways of doing the marketing research are basically the research can be done by using the secondary marketing research, the like secondary information which is ready-made available, or the research can also be done by using the primary data that we are calling as primary marketing research methods. Like as we have discussed, that there were a few data collection methods. Right, primary data collection methods were different, secondary data collection methods were different. Like those are the different ways of doing the research. If we want to do the research by primary data, different methods we can use, like survey method, focus groups method, trial and experiment method, interview method, and observation method. Right, you can use any one of these methods depending on many factors. Right, the various secondary marketing research methods we have discussed in the last class. There are a number of secondary information is available from various sources which we have discussed in the last class. Please go through the same. And approaches of marketing research. What are the primary marketing research methods? First method is survey method. We can use surveys to do the research to find the solution for any problem or to innovate something, whatever. But we can study anything by using survey method. In survey research, survey questions are given to respondents. The questions may be given in person, or maybe over phone or email or whatever the way, or maybe some other online forms, whatever. But survey questions are given to respondents. The questions can be close-ended, open-ended, and there are many different kinds of question formats. Like if close-ended, the questions can be multiple choice, or maybe like a Likert scale, or maybe like ranking. There are a number of ways to raise the questions to the respondents. Like so, there are different ways to conduct the surveys also. We may use questionnaires, or maybe we may use and the questionnaires can be sent by many ways, as we have discussed, maybe by person, maybe by telephone, maybe email, maybe WhatsApp, maybe Twitter, maybe on different online forms, by providing different links in various social networks, whatever the way. But we have to send the questionnaire, and the respondents will give answers to the questions raised by the enumerator. Second one is focus group method. In the last class, we have discussed about the survey methods, advantage and disadvantage and everything. So another approach is focus group method. Another way of doing the research is focus group method. This method involves getting a group of people in a room or maybe in a place and asking them insightful questions regarding the product. You may ask them in the different ways to get the right information, by making them to sit together in a particular place. The questions may be regarding how is the product, or maybe its development, or maybe the respondents' preferences of different brands or products, or to provide feedback about the products, whatever. Right? So these types of focus groups can be run or can be conducted at any location feasible for the company or business. Whatever the convenient place, you can do this focus group research. Focus groups fall under the qualitative research, and the focus groups help businesses to know a lot about customers or market trends. Right? We can ask a number of questions to them, and we can get sufficient information from them. So, which is very helpful for any organization to plan the future and to implement various strategies in the future in order to get more success. Another way is trials and experimentation method. Here, the name itself is telling us what is this method. This method of primary research involves scientific tests where hypotheses and variables etc. are used. So, what we will do here is we can use various scientific methods and we will try it. It may or may not be successful. If not, again we will try. If not, again we will try. So, try and error method we can call it as. If there is an error, again we will try. So, electricity is innovated in the same way, trial and error method, and many things are innovated in the same way. Any innovation is not happened at a single time, right? So flights, while inventing the flights also, number of times they failed and again they tried, right? And this quantitative type of market research, why we are calling it as quantitative is we have to try with different quantities, and if it is not successful, again we will try with one more quantity. For example, maybe while providing or innovating this electricity, or maybe while inventing a medicine also, what they will do is they will try something and that may or may not work out. So they will try with different quantities mixed by different chemicals, right? So different quantities of chemicals are mixed and tried. If not worked out, again they will change the quantities of the chemicals and again they will mix them and they'll try. That is the way actually it works. So trial and error method or experimentation method. So here either what we are doing here is we are trying to control the environment, right? We are doing it within the controlled environment because we are controlling all the variables, or else we cannot we cannot proceed with this trial method or experiment method. So for this researches we can use various tools. The data collection tools means actually what kind of tool we are using to collect the data. Earlier we used one tool, that is questionnaire, right? Or sometimes we may use, instead of questionnaire, we may ask them personal questions, that is interview, right? Apart from these techniques, there are some other techniques also which I told you in the starting about approaches of marketing research. They are interview and observation methods, which we have already discussed in the last class. So again I am not telling you here. So go through the same, right? Along with these methods like survey method, focus group method and experimentation method, there are also some other primary research methods. They are interview method and observation method. Within the interview there are different types of interview methods, different types of observation method, everything which I have discussed in the last class, right? So whatever the way, method of research, we are using some tools for that. Maybe the questionnaire, maybe by asking some unstructured questions, right? So some new tools are there. They are ladder. So here with this diagram, I hope it will be clear for you what is this tool. In the ladder we have given from 1 to 10, right? From 1 to 3 it is indicating bad, right? From 4 to 6, if they rank it from 4 to 6, either 4 or 5 or 6, that means they are average condition. That means they are telling the product is average. Maybe they are average satisfied with the product, right? If it is from 7 to 9, a great satisfied, right? The product is pretty good. And if it is 10, it is extraordinary, or maybe it is perfect, or whatever. So the maximum is 10. So in that way we can ask. So actually when we are doing the research in rural markets, it will be very helpful, because asking the questions may be difficult for them to understand or to answer, but this kind of questions will definitely help them to easily understand. For example, what do you think about our product, how much you are satisfied? Rate from 1 to 10. Definitely 10 means very good, so they will understand and they will give any rank, right? And another tool is by using some colors. Green is giving very good, right? Like what we have used before is perfect, right, or extraordinary. And light green we are using because actually green is the color of crops in the villages, the rural places, which actually is very good sign for them. So we are using the same color green as extraordinary, and light green we are using it for some more less than green. And yellow is somewhat less, because yellow indicates like sands, or maybe a land without crops, right? So again, if no, then again we are indicating the next color as light orange, which is indicating sun, right, with somewhat less rank. And then red means of course danger, so we are giving it as very very less ranking. So we can use these colors also as tools while collecting the data. And we can also use the tool of emojis or symbols. These faces, actually there is an example which you can observe here. How was your experience hiking on trail? Maybe how was your experience by using this product? So there are different emojis, which are actually, the last one is very happy, right? Whereas the first one is a little bit angry, they are not actually comfortable, or they are not happy with our product. And then from here to happy, they can choose any one, right? Up to within these five, they may give any one rank. They may actually say very, actually it is very bad, they may give the first emoji as their rank. Or if they are very satisfied and the product is pretty good, they may choose the last emoji. So such kind of symbols will also be very useful while collecting the data in the rural places. So after completing these tours, let us go to sorry, this we have already discussed, right? What are the different approaches? We have already discussed. What are the different sampling methods? You know what is a sample, right? Instead of checking all the population, what we will do is we will choose some of maybe few people from the population as sample, and we will only do the research on them, right? And by them we will generalize it to all the population. Whatever the result, we will generalize it to all the population. That is sample. So for selecting these people as sample, there are different ways, right? That we are calling it as sampling methods. So the basic sampling methods are probability sampling method, non-probability sampling method. What is probability sampling method? In this probability sampling method, all the respondents will have equal chance to be selected as the sample. Clear? So if the population is 100, that means there are 100 customers in that particular market where we are going to do the research. 100 people will have equal chance to be selected, right? That we are calling it as probability sampling method. Within probability sampling method, there are 4 different kinds of probability sampling methods. They are simple random sampling method is the first one. Simple random sample. What is it? simply by closing our eyes we may choose anyone. Like I'll choose number 4 and I may choose 25, I may choose 60, right? Randomly, simple random. We will not follow any logic. Simply randomly, whatever the number I get, I'll say like these are going to be I sample. That is simple random sampling method. And systematic sampling method. So here, how does it work out? First number I'll choose randomly. For example, I may choose 5, and from then with 2 gap I'll choose one as a sample. For example, 5. After 5, maybe I may choose 7, 9, 11, 13, right? But still, how, why it is probability sampling method? Is really everyone is having equal chance to be selected? Yes, because the first number we are choosing randomly. The first number, if I choose 4, then 4, 6, 8, these people will also have chance to be selected, right? So everyone will have. Or maybe if I choose the gap as 3, right, from 5 again, 5, 8, 11, again different people will be selected. So there is the probability that everyone will be chosen as sample. That is why we are calling it as probability sampling. And the next one is stratified sample method. The third actually zone what you can observe here is the stratified sample method. Here what we have done is we divided the group into different clusters, into different groups, and from each group we are choosing them different number of people. We don't know from which group who will be selected, but clearly from each group the people will be selected, right? For example, male and female, we choose this female, one from this male, one from this female. We don't know like who will be selected from male and female, right? That is stratified sampling method. And another one is cluster method. This, how does it work out is same, in the same way we divide into different clusters, right? What we have different groups, and what we will do is we will choose the entire cluster, we will choose the entire group as our sampling members. For example, we may choose any village, right? For example, I'll choose one village here, and I'll choose one village in Sirisilla, and I'll choose one village in Jagatyal, I'll choose one village in Siddipet, like that. So the entire village will be our sample, right? So one cluster we are choosing a sample, but it is not sure like which cluster we are going to choose. That is why it is the probability sampling method also. Next is non-probability sampling method, which the people will not have equal chance to be selected. All the people may not have chance to be selected, right? We may expect like who will be selected, right? So the first one is convenient sampling method. If for example in the classroom, if you ask the CR to select 5 people, right, 5 people, what they will say, how they will choose is whoever the best friends they have, they may choose them as their team. So clearly we can say because it is very convenient for them, right? That is the convenient sampling. If you give the freedom to the to the enumerator to select the sample, they may choose their neighbors, right? So because it is easy for them to get the data from them. So that is the convenient sampling. And we can expect that other people may say like, however, they will not choose me because I'm not they will not feel comfortable they choose me as sample, right? So that is why all the people will not have equal chance to be selected. And voluntary response sample, you will ask them to come voluntarily, right? You will ask the respondents who are interested, you can may come and help, you may come and respond, right? For example, blood donation, if you may ask, and maybe some other tests, you may come and check for that. You know, for example, various nutri companies are there. nutrition companies, what they will do is they will stand in one place and they will ask the people to come and check it free of cost, but all the people will not go voluntarily, they will go. Right, in the same way, if we do the research, then it is called as voluntary response sample. And another one is purposive sample, right? So this one is like based on the purpose, actually, like they are very poor, so we have to choose them. For our information, the rich people will be appropriate, so they are very rich, so we have to choose them. That is the purposive sample, right? Only rich people can be selected for that research, we can expect it. Only poor people can be selected for that research, right? We can expect, we can imagine. And snowball sampling, like ball, they will pass on the ball, right? Someone has given to me, I will give it to someone else, and someone else will give to someone else. That is the snowball sampling method. How does it work? We will ask one respondent to answer the questions, and we will ask him to suggest one more respondent. We'll go to that person and we will ask that person to respond to our questions, and we will ask him to suggest one more respondent. So that is the snowball. If you observe the fourth one here, right? The first person he has suggested 2 person, and again the second person he has suggested 3 people. The third again they may suggest to some other respondents. That is the snowball sampling. Right? So these are the different sampling methods. How can we determine the sampling method? Which sampling method will be appropriate? How can we decide whether probability method or non-probability method? If probability method, what kind of maybe convenient method, a simple random method, or maybe stratified method? What kind of method is appropriate? How can we decide? Determining sampling method and size involves these things. In urban areas, usually sampling is an easy process because of similarity. This is a result of high mobility and exposure facilitated by infrastructure facilities and regular of income receipts, savings patterns molded by tax problems and time schedules and incomes. These are the different characteristics in urban areas. That is why it is easy for the enumerators to get the responses. Differential and limited development of infrastructure in the rural areas, geophysical differences, that is heterogeneity, and variation in literacy levels and differences in proximity to towns have contributed the heterogeneity in the rural marketplace, right? So these are the characteristics of rural marketing research. So the characteristics of rural market are different from the urban market in terms of earning capacity or earning way, the way of earning, right? And literacy levels are different, and like homogeneity, it is in urban areas, and it is heterogeneity in rural areas, and there are many differences in characteristics of markets. So sampling in rural areas are having the following features. What are the features? A variable such as income cannot be used to stratify rural samples because the incomes are not similar to all the people in the rural areas. Especially in a particular village, all the people will not earn the same amount of salaries, right? So the reason is their incomes are uncertain. Even the same person cannot get the salary, the same earnings every year. It varies with many factors, right? So that is why it is uncertain in the rural areas. So the salary cannot be taken as one variable. In the urban context, the income is similar and standard, so we can take it as a variable. Often rural market research utilizes land holdings as an indicator, right? So how much land do they possess? Based on that, we may say, like, we may differentiate the people in rural areas, and we can take it as a variable sometimes. The land holding has to be balanced with productivity and realizations from the crop mix again. Handholdings alone is not enough, so we have to balance with the productivity of this landholding, how they are using these lands, and how they are getting the crops is also important. So based on all of these things, we can just expect the income levels of the people, and we may use it as a variable. Village, how can we choose a village as a sample? Depending on population, right? Depending on proximity of highway, right? The availability of roads, maybe depending on the occupation profile, what are the different occupations are there in the particular village, depending on the religions, right? Maybe Hindu dominated villages are there, and Muslim dominated villages are there, and some other religious dominated villages, like in terms of population domination, in the sense like majority of the people are of which religion. Sometimes it may be the variable also, or sometimes tribal population, whether the village is tribal or non-tribal, right? If you want to do the research especially from the point of tribal people, then we may go for the tribal dominated villages, right? While sampling in rural areas, we have to consider various operational aspects of data collection, right? What are they? The time tested sophisticated tools fail to evoke the required response in rural markets. The time is a big factor in the rural areas, which we cannot actually get it from the respondents. Detailed questions need to be asked to simplify the inquiry and to pin down the response. The questions are to be very clear and to be asked clear also, to get the accurate response, the right response. Rural consumers are comfortable with colors, pictures, and stories, as I have shown you just now. The tools like emojis, the tools like colors, the tools like ladders, such kind of tools will be comfortable for the rural respondents. The rural researchers make use of participatory research methods, right? Usually they participate, and they will tell us like what is their response. How do we choose the sampling method, whether probability is better or whether non-probability is better? Till now we have discussed different kinds of sampling methods, like probability methods, non-probability methods, right? And we have also discussed about based on what actually we can select it, right? So the same thing here we are discussing, how can we choose one out of these sampling methods, like whether probability or non-probability, depending on these factors. For example, if the information needed is in totals, we may choose probability. If the information needed is in averages or propositions, better to choose for non-probability. If the expected cost is high, that means we are ready to pay more amount for this research, then we may choose probability sampling method, right? Because we don't know like who will be chosen. For example, if you want to do the research on consumers of Coca-Cola, all over the world, actually the consumers are there, right? If you want to do it in Indian customers also, we have to cover all the states and union territories in India, right? Because we are using simple random method, or maybe whatever the method, probability method, then it will be like high cost. And if you want to make it to happen with low cost, then we may go for non-probability. If the population is heterogeneous, different types of people are there, definitely we should go with probability, because everyone should have a chance to be selected. And if everyone is same, like similar type of people are there, if homogeneous, then we may go for non-probability is also fine. And if allowable error is small, if you want to do it with small error, then we may go for probability. And large error is also allowable, then we may go for non-probability, especially while sampling error, right? For example, we have left to cover tribal people, right? We did not consider tribal people, and we generalize to them also, then it is definitely an error, right? Because everything what we have done is non-tribal, right? The information what we collected is from non-tribal, and we generalize it to the tribal also, then it is an error, right? If such kind of non-sampling error is expected to be small, then we have to go with probability sampling method. And if large error is also okay, then we may go for non-probability method. Sampling size. What is sample size? The information we have to collect from how many people, right? So if you want to collect the information or data from 100 people, then our sample size is 100. If you want to do the research on 1000 consumers, then our sample size is 1000, right? So this sample size, how can we choose, how can we select, or how can we determine this sampling size? Depending on these factors: time availability. If we have more time, then we will go for large sampling size. We can do the research on more number of people. The time availability is less, we have to go with a small sampling size. And if you need more accuracy levels, right, if you want it to be accurate, then you have to go with high large sampling size, because the more the respondents, the more accuracy will be there. And if accuracy we don't want that much, low accuracy is also fine, then we must go for small sampling size. The population is heterogeneous, there are different kinds of people, then definitely we'll go for large population, because we have to cover all the people. There are 10 different kinds of people, at least one from each group will be 10. If all like 100 people are same, right, there are 10 different groups with 10 as group size, or 10 members in each group, right, 100 people. So we have to, there if the groups are different, then we have to choose one from each group, then it will be 10 our sampling size. If 100 are same, everyone is like having the same kind of taste and preference, and everyone is having the same earning capacity, everyone is same kind of literacy levels, so then we may choose 5 as sampling and we will ask them, right? So such kind of factor is very important. If the population is heterogeneous, large sampling size should be there. If the population is homogeneous, small sample size should be there. Appropriate data analysis tools are to be used, right? How to select or how to choose this appropriate data analysis tools is based on the purpose of research, what kind of, for what actually we are doing this research, right? The purpose of research, and based on the type of data, whether quantitative or qualitative, right, whether measurable variables or non-measurable attributes like qualitative factors, and number of variables being examined, one or more. Actually these are all for what, all these factors we are analyzing to determine the tool for data analysis, right? Till now what we have done, we determined the sampling size, we determined the data collection methods. Now what we are doing, we are choosing one tool for analyzing the data, right? There are a number of tools like t-test, f-test, chi-square test, and simple averages method, and there are many number of tools are there. So such kind of tool, what kind of tool we are going to use, it depends upon these factors: purpose of research, type of data. If quantitative, we have to use various different analysis tools. If it is qualitative data, we can use some other tools. If it is number of variables, if the number of variables examined is only one, then we may go for some other tools. I will tell you later in the next presentation. If it is more, then we have to use some other tools. Type of measurement scale we are using, whether it is interval, nominal or ordinal, or some other time ratio scale, right? The scales we have discussed in some other subject also, research methodology and statistical analysis. Interval scale, which accepts only to choose from multiple options like colors, right, male or female, such kind of things. Nominal scale, where we can give rankings like 1 to 5. Ordinal scale, the gap between each two numbers is same, is ordinal scale. So whatever, depending on these things, we have to choose appropriate analysis tool also. Number of samples to be compared is also one factor which we should consider, right? How many samples that we are going to cover. Only we will complete it with one group of sample, or we have to do it the sample in India, we have to do it the sample in some other country, right? So such kind of factor is also very important. And nature of samples, whether the sample is dependent or independent. If there are two samples which are dependent, right, actually sample A depends on sample B, sample B depends on sample A, then you have to choose some different kind of tools, right? And size of the sample, small size sample is there, right? Then we go for some simple events, simple data analysis tools. And if there are large sample size, then we have to use some different kind of tools, which we will discuss now. Like especially depending on the number of variables examined, what are the different types of methods can be used, right? The tools for univariate data, if there is only one variable that we are actually going to investigate, we are going to do the research and we are going to collect the data about only one variable, then it is the tools what we can use here is t-test, z-test, chi-square test, and we may also use one-way ANOVA. And if there are more than one variables that we are going to study, then we may use ANOVA or rank correlation. If it is, as we discussed, if it is like, it depends on the scale that what we are using, right? If it is interval scale, right, then what we have to use. If it is ordinal scale, for example, the ranks, we may use this rank correlation, right? And if it is multivariate, then we may also use multiple regression and factor analysis, discriminant analysis, cluster analysis, which we will discuss in production and operations management later. However, these are the different tools we can use based on different types of data and number of variables, right? And what is the nature of sample size, what is the how many number of samples are there. Depending on all of these things, we may choose any of these data analysis tools. I hope all these concepts are clear. If no, you can ask me personally by WhatsApp, or else try to come again with the video, right? Thank you.